The election victory would make the People's Party the strongest party in Austria's parliament. So what does this mean for the direction of the country's government? Kelsey Suter is a senior consultant at APCO Worldwide. She's helped clients around the world develop communication strategies. Kelsey, welcome to CGTN.
Hi, nice to be here.
You've done focus group for elections and campaigns across Europe. To what do you attribute today's Sebastian Kurz's victory to?
Yeah, so Kurz ran a really effective campaign. I think a lot of it was a combination of his youth and sort of adding this freshness to the party, as well as being able to sort of pull the party to the right and steal some votes from the FPO. So he's very young, he's 31, he's very charismatic. He did a lot to sort of rebrand the party and pull it away from, it had been in coalition with the SPO, the Social Dems, for so long. He changed the party's colors from black to turquoise. He brought in some new fresh faces for the party list, and so really gave the sense that he was trying to shake up Austrian politics. At the same time, he moved the party a bit to the right in order to take some of the mobilization that the radical right, the Freedom Party, had been able to capitalize on, and was able to sort of moderate the rhetoric a little bit, present a more moderate face to that sort of radical right anti-immigration platform, and pull some of those voters away from the FPO.
Talking about the Freedom Party, which is currently in the second place and in all likelihood will form a coalition government with Kurz's party, what would that mean for the Austrian policies going forward?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think we know for sure. If those two do end up going in coalition together, which is the most likely outcome, they're both share a platform of being pretty anti-immigration and particularly pretty anti-Islam. And so we don't know what exactly that's going to mean, sort of where on this spectrum they're going to fall, but I would expect we could see some sort of policies to cut immigration measures. And then that'll have implications in Europe as well, with figures like Merkel and Macron in France trying to introduce migration quotas. And we'll see what happens, but you could imagine that would become more difficult the more of these anti-immigrant leaders get into positions of power in Europe.
You've done focus groups across Europe. Give us a sense of what you found on the ground. Was anti-immigrant populism a trend in Europe right now?
Yeah, it is certainly a trend. In Austria, in particular, they have one of the highest rates of immigration in relative terms in the continent. They were seeing a lot of influx of population, particularly in 2015 with the refugee crisis. At the same time, even though they are a really wealthy country, they've had pretty high unemployment, again, in relative terms, and issues with wage and people just trying to get jobs. And so that combination of this economic disaffection and this changing population is likely to stimulate some resentments and some disaffection, and it becomes easier to sort of exploit that into an anti-immigrant sentiment.
Here's a few proposals by Sebastian Kurz in the past few months on the campaign trail. I just read a few of them. Shut down migrant routes to Europe, cap benefits payments to refugees at a low level, and bar other foreigners from receiving benefits until they have lived in Austria for 5 years. How would you measure his policy proposals against some other populist right-wing politicians in Europe?
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty far to the right in relative terms. You've seen, I know he and Viktor Orban, they've expressed positive sentiments toward one another. Orban is one of the leading figures in Europe who's pushing against increasing migration and taking migrants. Poland is another one. There are a few countries where you're just seeing this pushback, and there's a sense that they want to be able to control their national borders and not have these quotas imposed on them from the EU. And so I think you might start to see some of these leaders forming a stronger coalition within European politics.
Let's see if that's the case going forward. Thank you so much,
Yes,
Kelsey.
thank you.
Thank you for stopping by.